Begin the gravimetric chloride analysis by cleaning 4 filtering crucibles. We will use a chemical cleaning process of concentrated nitric acid, followed by cleaning with dilute ammonia. Begin by allowing the crucibles to soak in approximately 5 milliliters of concentrated nitric acid. Add it to each crucible. At that point, place the crucible inside of a liter beaker. The fritted glass is somewhat porous and there might be some leakage of nitric acid, and that way you can contain it in the liter beaker. Okay, so each crucible will be allowed to soak for 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes with the nitric acid. After the crucibles have been allowed to soak for at least 5 minutes in the nitric acid, you want to filter and wash each crucible. In order to do that, you're going to need to get your filter flask and your crucible holder out of your lab station. You want to make sure that inside the crucible holder that the glass piece is not cracked, so that you can get a good vacuum seal. You need to bring your filter flask assembly to a vacuum line that has a trap attached to it. You always want to filter through a trap, not directly into the vacuum line. Okay, to properly connect and disconnect the vacuum, you always want to do so at the side arm of your filter flask, attaching the hose after the vacuum has been turned on. I'm going to turn on the vacuum. I get my first crucible. Go and make sure that you support the crucible so that until the vacuum holds it in place so that you don't have any spills. Okay, and I connected the vacuum there at the side arm. Okay, the nitric acid will be allowed to drain through, and after draining through, you want to rinse the crucible 3 to 4 times using deionized water. No particular volume of water, just simply making sure that the walls of the crucible are thoroughly rinsed with the water. Okay, so after that is allowed to drain through, I'll now rinse the crucible, rinsing the side walls with the deionized water 3 to 4 times. Okay, so after 3 to 4 washes, when I'm ready to disconnect the vacuum, it'll once again be disconnected at the side arm. You can help speed it through by placing your hand over the top. Once that's all drained through, I will support the crucible with my hand and disconnect the vacuum. That process will be repeated for all 4 crucibles. After the crucibles have been cleaned in the concentrated nitric acid, you would repeat the same cleaning process for each crucible, now using 6 molar ammonia, also labeled as dilute ammonium hydroxide. Soak each crucible for 5 minutes in the ammonia, and then filter and rinse the crucibles as before 6 to 8 times with deionized water. After all 4 crucibles have been chemically cleaned in both concentrated nitric acid and dilute ammonia, and sufficiently rinsed, you now want to dry each crucible to constant mass. Be sure to provide an identifying mark on each crucible, labeling them or numbering them. Keep in mind that the marker may evaporate off in the oven, so you might want to document any other identifying characteristics. Like this one has white writing, this one has brown writing, any other characteristics in case the marker gets wiped off that would be helpful. Okay, and just like you dried your unknown sample, you'll place all 4 crucibles inside of a drying container with your name labeled on those. Use the glass hooks in the watch glass to prevent particulates from getting in, but elevating it so that moisture can get out, and then place this in the oven to dry for an appropriate period of time. After drying for an appropriate period of time, you'll cool the crucibles in the desiccator to room temperature and repeat that heating, cooling, and weighing cycle until constant mass is achieved.